Cava with it on her backhand. Michaela Cava will feed the point. Chopped at and went airborne momentarily. Turns it over. Minnesota deep in their own zone. Trying to clear, tied up along the near wall. Minnesota 2-0, the only unbeaten team left in the first year of the PWHL. 3-2 over Boston last Wednesday, and Saturday, of course, the 3-0 shutout of Montreal in front of an epic crowd, over 13,300 people. Obviously a midweek game here tonight, not many, but an excellent crowd.
I love to see how many people have shown out for this Wednesday night game, and like I said earlier, I'm expecting a really good matchup in between these two powerful teams here.
It's going to slide into the corner. This is Greco. Check that Kendall Coyne Schofield. Schofield will get it off for Heisey. Heisey to the point. There's a drive by Stecklein. Lee Stecklein, the former Gopher and three-time Olympian, tried to get it on net. Now Willoughby will gather it up and move it out for Toronto as Toronto will make the line change. Coming in here, this is Sarah Nurse, the former Wisconsin Badger, stapled up to the wall behind the net. And Minnesota's able to kick it back out to center. Callie Flanagan gets it back for Toronto and pushes it in. There's a good body check there by Jessie Comfer. I say check. And we are seeing a little bit of that here in the PWHL. The physicality is certainly something that these teams are getting used to as the game is called a little bit differently from what they were used to in college and in the international game.
Absolutely, and I like the way that it changes the game. It allows you to kind of open up the playbook a little bit. You can bring out that physicality and do a little bit more with it. So I love what I've seen in the first week here in the PWHL. Flanagan
on defense for Toronto, the former BC Eagle. Won gold with Team USA in Pyeongchang. It's a very Canadian roster, but Comfer and Flanagan, two Americans as they come in. Here's a chance. Great pass on the trailer. And we're going to have our first penalty. It's going to come against Minnesota.
Well, it was a great job on the back check to break up that backdoor feed. That would have been a tap-in goal for Toronto had Minnesota not gotten back and broken that up. But I like Minnesota, what Toronto was trying to do, and at the end of the day, they drew a penalty. Stecklein, who's taken a handful of penalties to start the season, heads to the box here again as we take another look at the play. And I like the pass. Puck just kind of fluttering, so it wasn't a clean shot she was looking at there, but good job by Minnesota to break it up. Unfortunately, now they're going to have to kill a penalty here.
So there you see Ken Klee,
Minnesota penalty number 2.
Head coach for Minnesota on the penalty kill now. Minnesota 6 for 7 on the year. Killed 3 penalties in Boston, and all 3 of the penalties that they had against Montreal the other day. So here goes Toronto on the power play. 1 for 7 on the year. Malte feeds it across, one-timer. Larocque lurking on the doorstep, tried to whack it past Hensley on that blast from Flanagan. Now Flanagan back at center has to chisel it back in, and Minnesota's going to be able to buy some time on this kill as they'll get some fresh skates on the ice. 1 minute and 18 seconds to go in this power play.
Good job by Minnesota to fend off the pressure of that first power play unit by Toronto. They kept things to the perimeter and got the puck out when they needed to.
Turnbull takes it in. Shallow angle shot that got part of the net and spins off to the far wing side. Now here's Fast. She'll feed it across for Connors. Connors to the point. Driving Nurse. Trying to tip it past with Spooner. Again, right out in front. Boy, they do a good job getting bodies in front of the net.
They really do, and they caught a piece of that, and Hensley was forced to make a save there with the right pad. I like the setup and the initial shot by Turnbull, short side. Kind of a tricky shot there. Most players, a goaltender would expect them to go around the net with that, with the way she was coming in with her speed. Instead, she takes the short side shot, sets up the entire sequence for Toronto.
Spooner scored a power play goal in the win over New York last Friday, their only power play goal of the year. They've got about 20 seconds to go in this advantage, the first of the hockey game for either team. But they're going to have to regroup from deep in their own zone. Here's probably their last rush on this advantage. They're going to swing it in and chase. Off to the far corner. 7 seconds to go in the power play. Minnesota's got it. Here comes Cunnin. Back to center. Sophia Cunnin, the former Minnesota Whitecap, and that'll do it. Minnesota back to full strength.
Great penalty kill to get things started. Toronto, 4 shots registered on the night so far. Minnesota has fended them off early here. Now they got to try to get in the offensive zone and get some looks going for their side. And
Alexis, of those 4 shots, 3 just came on that power play. Some pretty good looks out in front of the net, but Hensley was equal to the task. Under 13 minutes to go in the period. There's a backhand sticked away by Hensley, who played her college hockey at Lindenwood. Now here comes Coyne. Coyne kicked out of there by Campbell. Really the first real test for Campbell, and not much at that.
Yeah, and Coyne still looking for her first goal on the season here. I liked what she was trying to do there, but Campbell sees it cleanly.
Out in front of Campbell. And now Toronto's able to skate it free and get it back to neutral ice. Back the other way, this is Kogan. Samantha Kogan out of Ottawa. She goes down in a heap behind the net. Flanked by 2 Minnesota players. Off to Basco, great centering pass, blocked out in front. That hit a skate.
Absolutely, Minnesota getting in the way of the shot there. Nice work to keep it away from Hensley.
And now Brooke Bryant with some speed will bring it back to center and dump it in. Coming up on the 8-minute mark of period number 1. Again, Minnesota getting outshot in the early minutes of the game. That's kind of been a theme here through the first 3 events.
Yeah, the first 10 or 15 minutes of that game against Montreal, they were on their heels, and it seems to be repeating itself here a bit tonight.
Long drive from Spooner, again blocked. Minnesota getting in the shooting lanes here early on. And Minnesota outshot in both games so far, 59-38 combined. And they're getting outshot 4-1 right now. He's going to drift back. Jocelyn Larocque, the number 2 overall pick in the draft, right behind Heisey. Will send it back to the Minnesota zone. From the checkered red line, Minnesota tries to advance it. And Zumwinkle was bumped off the puck with a nice little hip check. Swinging it across is Larocque. Nobody there on the far wing. Minnesota intercepts. There's a drive by Flaherty, and Campbell sees it come right into her mitt with exactly 11 minutes to go in the first 20 minutes here in St. Paul.
Welcome back into downtown St. Paul. The face on your screen there already becoming a familiar face here in St. Paul. And speaking of familiar faces, Brock Faber rocking the Grace Zumwinkle jersey walking into last night's game here at the X against the Dallas Stars. So, of course, Grace Zumwinkle had to return the favor and rock the Brock Faber jersey. Love to see the support between the 2 pro teams here in the state of Minnesota.
A couple of former Gophers. Of course, Zumwinkle leading the league in points, goals, and game-winning goals. Had the game winner against Boston and the only goals on Saturday in that hat trick. Yeah, she's been smiling a lot lately.
I don't see why she wouldn't be.
And she should be. Now we get another penalty, so this will be penalty number 2 of the night.
Yeah, cross-checking is going to be the call here. The fans don't like it.
And well, that was right on cue. Zumwinkle is going to be the guilty party,
Minnesota,
I believe.
number 13, 2 minutes cross-checking.
Huh. Well, you speak her name and that happens.
I guess so, and the fans don't like it, so let's see what we think, taking another look at it here, and that is a clear cross-check, so.
No doubt.
Fans must have not got a good look at it, Clay.
Wow, the one thing about Minnesota right now, they've been outstanding on the penalty kill. As Hensley is forced to cover up here. They've stopped 7 of 8 disadvantages so far this year, and so far so good on this one.
And another look, trying to get that tip in down low. They've tried that. Toronto's tried that a couple times on their first couple power plays of the night, but Hensley's up to the task so far.
Toronto had 3 shots on goal on the first advantage. This is Fast at the point. Plays it back across for Nurse. Sarah Nurse, one of the most popular players in Canada in the sport. This is going to come back through center.
That was great pressure by Minnesota along the boards to force Toronto to kind of panic in that situation, and they get the puck out of the zone. Toronto now has to start over.
Blair Turnbull starts it in. Goes around the kick plate to the far wing side. Callie Flanagan settles it down. Now walking in, moving below the end line. Still with it. Flanagan for Turnbull. Now down into the circle for Connors. Connors goes across for Callie Flanagan again. And now nobody home on the near wing side, and that's an opportunity for Minnesota to clear it. Cunnin doing the honors, and Minnesota gets fresh killers on the ice. 50 seconds to go in the advantage for Toronto.
Well, Coach Kencley's got to be pleased with his penalty killers right now. Through almost 2 penalty kills, Minnesota's done a great job keeping things to the perimeter as much as they can and getting pucks out when they have to.
There's Susanna Tapani chasing after Malte. Tapani's got a really long reach, Alexis, and no surprise, she's one of their better penalty killers.
Well, and you like her in deep there on the forecheck, trying to waste some time on that side of the ice, not allowing Toronto as much time on the power play in the offensive end.
Under 15 seconds to go in the advantage. This one skips on a cross-angle dump into the near corner. And again, Minnesota quick to jump on it. It's Steckline hoisting it out, and that's just about going to do it for the Toronto power play.
I always like to say hockey games are won and lost along the boards, and right now Minnesota is winning the battle on the boards, really making it tough on Toronto on the perimeter.
Just one shot on that power play for Toronto, as Willoughby is tied up in the corner by Minnesota. Keeping it alive, though, is Allie Monroe. 9th round pick for the Toronto franchise. 8.5 to go in the period, still no score. Digging it out here is Kogan. Beats it up top. Long drive, Knowles bounces in. I think that got the pad of Hensley. Centering pass, nobody in front for Toronto, and it's intercepted and moved out. And Coyne and a poked off her stick at the last moment. Now Steckline frees the puck for Flaherty. They clear it to the far wing side, but not out. Held in by Toronto. Under 8 minutes to play in the period. And now here comes Minnesota with some speed. Heisey. Nice pass. Oh, and it goes just past the right post for Krzyzova.
Did the shot fake, went for the pass. A great look by Minnesota there.
And now Leslie starts it back for Toronto and carries it in deep. Left it behind her.
Shot fake by Heisey in the slot is so dangerous because the goaltender's going to think you're going to shoot that 100% of the time. So if you can connect on the pass, that's a great look.
Now Sheppers with some room. Kick save again by Kristen Campbell, the native of Brandon, Manitoba. Boy, Campbell has had a great career in her own right. Is their #3 goaltender at the Beijing Olympics for Team Canada. Played a couple of years in North Dakota before a stellar career at Wisconsin. Hasn't been tested a lot so far, but looks sharp here early.
Well, and once she does start to get tested more tonight, she'll be ready for it. She's faced 59 shots coming into tonight's game, which is the most of any goaltender in the league so far.
Troy Ryan, who turns 52 later this month, is a Nova Scotia native, led Canada to gold at the Beijing Olympics. And he's going to be the head coach at the 2026 games in Milan. Off the draw. 5-player scrum for it. Toronto trying to get control. It's poked to the near wing side, and Minnesota holds the zone. They'll flip it into the corner, trying to turn it toward the middle. That's mucked up by the Toronto defense, and it slides past the blue line. Minnesota has to group. Back out at center with 6.5 to go. Thrown on, Campbell, kick save, bouncing puck. Trying to clear it, Hannah Miller got it to the blue line, not out. Again, centering pass to George there for Minnesota, but couldn't turn and fire it on net. And this is going to drift in on Hensley. Now Channel with her head up. Had it intercepted at neutral, and it's dumped quickly back in by Toronto with just over 6 minutes to go.
Was looking for the cross-ice pass, and the lane wasn't really there. Toronto jumps on it, now has offensive pressure because of it.
Fast, long drive, and Hensley covers up, had to scramble, but is able to keep that one out off the stick of Renata Fast.
Coming off a huge game in Boston, a big save there.
Medicine care for PWHL Minnesota. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a professional hockey player, you'll get the same expert orthopedic care.
A little bit, but not very well.
Needs his volume turned up.
Standing by now with Coach Ryan for Toronto. And Coach, your team off to a fast start here tonight. A couple power plays. What have you liked so far out of your team here in Minnesota?
I like the start. I like the aggressive forecheck we've been able to establish and play physical down low. But we got to have a better shot mentality on the power play. Get some pucks to the net with traffic. We just got to be better in that area.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Standing by now with Coach Ryan for Toronto. And Coach, your team off to a fast start. Standing by now with Coach Ryan for Toronto. And Coach, your team off to a fast start here tonight. A couple power plays. What have you liked so far out of your team here in Minnesota?
I like the start. I like the aggressive forecheck we've been able to establish and play physical down low. But we got to have a better shot mentality on the power play. Get some pucks to the net with traffic. We just got to be better in that area.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, Toronto 0 for 2 on the power play so far. They've had opportunities, just nothing to show for it so far. But got to believe this Toronto team, Alexis, is happy to be playing somebody not named New York.
Yeah, first 2 games of the season, a home and home against New York. They get shut out in game 1, come away with the big win in game 2, and now getting a look here at this Minnesota team who's undefeated on the season.
Boy, Renata Fast having a hard time getting pucks to the net because players keep standing in the way of her shots. Minnesota has blocked a ton of shots here so far as Malte gets driven off the puck. And now it slides back into her skates. And Minnesota trying to dig it free. LaRocque is there as well for Toronto. Finally squirts loose for Renata Fast and then slides right out in front of the Toronto net. Malte is going to lose the puck to Panic. She tried to send it in on a clearing attempt, but goes up out of play.
Well, we just heard from Coach Ryan, and it seems like he's seeing what we're seeing, Clay. He mentioned the shot selection on the power play, basically not being able to get as many shots to the net as he would like, and that's exactly what Minnesota's done so well all game, is keep things to the perimeter. You also mentioned blocking shots. That's what you have to do when you're bottled up in your own end. You're left with no choice except to get in the lane and try to keep pucks out away from the net.
Here's Cunnin. Trying to feed it across for Sheppers. It was broken up by Vasco, and now Toronto punches it in with under 5 minutes to play in the opening frame. Fleming gets it ahead at center, and just out of the reach of Cunnin. Driven back by Monroe. Here's Fleming, Britton Fleming. Doing a little keep away routine there. Got it to Cunnin. Just out of her reach. Lost it at neutral ice. And now Flaherty will drive it in. Maggie Flaherty had 5 great years at the University of Minnesota Duluth. I know she was very proud of her former UMD teammate Maddie Rooney the other day. Rooney not getting the start in net tonight for Minnesota. Instead, it's Nicole Hensley. But one thing about Minnesota, Alexis, they have been getting outstanding goaltending. I just don't know that Ken Klee can make a bad choice with who he picks to start a game these days.
It's the best problem a coach can have, is trying to decide which of my best goaltenders should I put in between the pipes. We've seen Hensley and Rooney now in between the pipes. Of course, the shutout by Rooney. Hensley kept Minnesota in it late in that Boston game and is keeping them in it here tonight so far. I mean, not a bad problem to have.
Here's a one-timer. And Turnbull right out in front, couldn't settle it down. Grzyzova trying to start it back, hands off for Coyne. Kendall Coyne Schofield gets it back to the Toronto line. A good stretch pass. Confer puts it in the middle. Back for Renata Fast. Held to the outside by Grzyzova. Fast still with it, looking to center. Pulls up on the half wall, falls down. Lost an edge on the outside. And a possible Toronto scoring chance is neutralized. Here's Spooner. She'll swing it out in front of Hensley. It drifts to the near wing corner. Bounces back out to center, and Toronto's going to be offside with 2:54 to go here in the first period. Toronto out shooting Minnesota, but nothing on the board yet. The PWHL is brought to you by Canadian Tire, Canada's store, and proud founding partner of the PWHL. Back at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota, alongside Alexis Pearson, I'm Clay Matvick. We were just talking moments ago about Maddie Rooney. Got the start in the home opener for Minnesota. 24 saves against Montreal, and chalks up the first shutout in team history.
Yeah, a couple medals in the Olympics for Maddie Rooney. A shutout the other night, coming off a season in the PWHPA where she boasted just over a .91 save percentage. A great performance on home ice in front of a big crowd. You think the team had some nerves? What do you think the goaltenders felt like that night, Clay?
No doubt. I understand, too, that Maddie Rooney got some new pads, and she's rocking them today. I don't know if we're going to see her use them today, but I don't know why you'd want to change paths after that historic shutout. I would think.
Especially for goaltenders, you know how superstitious they are.
But she's got some new CCMs going.
I know Minnesota's hoping they don't have to see those new pads tonight, with Hensley getting the start here tonight. And there's a look at Hensley rocking the black and purple pads to match the Minnesota unis.
By the way, we're going to be talking with Lee Steckline, the 30-year-old former Gopher, 3-time Olympian, on that top defensive pair with Maggie Flaherty. We're going to talk with her at the intermission. That's a little over 2 minutes away. At center, Coyne Schofield through the logo, had it picked off there. Kogan couldn't advance it. Got as far as the blue line, that's it. Now here's Heising with speed. Cuts in, shoots and scores! Taylor Heising. Second goal of the year, and it's 1-0 Minnesota.
And that, folks, is why she was the #1 overall draft pick in the PWHL. Take another look at this play. Picks it up here at the red line, carries it down the left wing, makes a little move here, cuts to the net, splits the defenders, and puts it behind the pads of Kristen Campbell. Wow, that's going to be a highlight reel goal.
She had the first goal in franchise history, and big smile as she gets goal number 2. Get her scoring started here tonight. It comes at the 18-minute mark exactly, even strength.
Minnesota goal, her second of the season.
Coming off a 29-goal season at the U of M last year, which is tied for her career high at the college level. 65 points overall on the season last year, and now adding to her total here in the PWHL with the goal.
You and I were just talking during the commercial break too, Alexis, that, haven't really talked a lot about the top line in this hockey game yet. Just as we say that, Taylor Heising comes alive.
Ask and you shall receive, and this is just such a nifty play by Heising, and this is what they're hoping to see from her all season long play. So a huge goal here for Minnesota. And the other night against Montreal, Minnesota was on their heels to start the night, and it was the first goal of the game by Zumwinkle late in the first period that got them going. Maybe they'll see the same shot in the arm here by this Heising goal, coming at around the same time that Zumwinkle scored her goal the other night against Montreal in the first period.
The lone assist going to Lee Steckline, who we just talked about. We're going to be interviewing her during the intermission. So for Steckline, her second assist of the year. Loose behind Campbell, who saw that one go 5-hole. The first goal of the night. Off the tape of Comfer, she tries to chase it down. Thrown out toward the front, picked off by Minnesota, and it's going to slide all the way back. And an icing call with 1:15 to go in the first.
Once again, a good response from Minnesota. Had to kill a couple penalties early in this one, Clay, and it seemed like maybe Toronto was going to get the first goal of the game with some of those early looks on the power play. But Minnesota, great penalty killing. They hung in it, and then now get a goal late in the first period, are rewarded for their efforts. And Taylor Heising, again, a highlight reel goal to get the scoring started here tonight.
Fast, dumps it right out in front. Backhand chance for Connors, and Hensley's able to keep it out.
Minnesota has been great on clearing out some of these rebounds right in the crease there. Another situation where had Minnesota not gotten a stick on that, that might have been a tap-in goal for Toronto on the back door.
Nicole Hensley, as you talked about, Alexis, she's seen most of those shots come on the power play. That's an even strength chance. And now coming in is Spooner again. And she's pushed nicely to the outside by Melissa Channel, the former Wisconsin Badger. And now Panic looking to clear the zone. Toppany got it to the line, not out. And now here's Toppany. Takes a hard hit up against the wall. Puck springs to the near wing side, held in by Minnesota. Long shot, hits Knowles with 15 seconds to go in the period. 1-0 Minnesota. Knowles will dump it in and head for the bench. And Minnesota trying to hold on to the lead. A late chance there. And the horn sounds before Flanagan can get another drive off. You mentioned it, Alexis. I think the penalty kill for Minnesota is the hero of that first 20 minutes.
Well, if you can get a good penalty kill, you need to find a way to use that momentum in your favor. And Minnesota has done just that in the first period here. They ultimately get the goal from Taylor Heising on the top line to get the scoring started. I did like the response from Toronto late, though, pushing for the tying goal at the end of the first period here, but not able to do it. So Minnesota skating away with a 1-0 lead into the first intermission.
We're going to talk to Lee Steckline momentarily. She assisted on the only goal of the game so far. Second of the year for the #1 draft pick, Taylor Heising. First intermission on the way from St. Paul in a 1-0 game. Minnesota out in front.
Steckline, a defender here on Team Minnesota. And Lee, how have you liked Minnesota's play overall in this first week of the season, picking up 2 wins, the only undefeated team so far? What have you loved about this team's play?
You know, I do love that we found a way to win. They've not necessarily been our prettiest of games so far. We know we have a lot to work on, but finding a way to win is a huge skill. So I'm happy we're working on that and looking to pick it up a little bit more this game.
Here in tonight's game, Toronto had some push early. They had a couple power plays, but you guys did a great job keeping them to the perimeter, killing off those penalties, and ultimately getting the goal to get the scoring started late. What have you liked about your play here tonight so far against Toronto?
Like you said, the resiliency, being able to handle that pressure and then find our opportunities. A great goal by Taylor, and that's what we need to hopefully get momentum going in our favor.
If there's one thing you're looking for Team Minnesota to change heading into the second period, what would it be?
I would say keep moving our feet and get lots of shots on net.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lee. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Coming up next after the break, we'll talk to Ella Berger from University of St. Thomas. Welcome back into downtown St. Paul, where Team Minnesota leads Team Toronto 1-0 after 1 period of play. I'm standing by now with Ella Berger, a University of St. Thomas freshman on the hockey team. You lead your team in points, Ella. You've already been listed as the WCHA Rookie of the Week a couple of times in the early season. What led you to your love of hockey? Where did that start for you?
Yeah, I mean, we lived on a pond when I was younger, so we were out there all the time, and I was just out there with my brother and his friends, so that really started my love for the game, and we were just out there all the time, all day, so.
Well, and we brought you in here today because, you know, you told us that you are so excited about this new league because it gives you something to look forward to, a chance to potentially play pro hockey here in the PWHL. What does it mean to you to see this league kick off this week, all the excitement about it, and knowing that this is a possibility for you when you finish playing hockey at the college level?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just so great. All these women are such trailblazers. And I look around and, you know, you just see all these younger girls in jerseys, and it's so great just to see all the support, and I just know that all those younger girls are motivated and want to play pro someday, so it's great.
Well, and one of the coolest things that we've seen so far in this week is some of the Minnesotans who have stood out in this league. Specifically, you think of names like Maddie Rooney and Grace Zumwinkle. What does it mean for you to see Minnesotans stand out in this league again, just kind of doubling down on that idea that this is a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, I know Maddie Rooney pretty well because she's from Andover, so, you know, you see her around at the rink and everything. So, I mean, it's so great just to see them play in this league and, you know, do well and stand out. So,
well, let's use this opportunity for people to get a little scouting in on you. Tell people about your style of hockey. What do you play like? What is kind of your go-to style here at the University of St. Thomas?
I mean, I don't know, I like to shoot the puck, I'd say, and move the puck, but I don't know, I like to score goals. So
That's a good trait to have.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know much about the University of St. Thomas women's team, what is your team like? What is kind of your style, and what are you most known for here in the league?
I mean, I definitely say we're known for our defense, and, you know, we just like to get the puck out, and I feel like we do a really good job of blocking shots and, you know, just going back to our playing defense, so.
And in this new league here at PWHL, so many things to look forward to, so many more games on the schedule. What are you most looking forward to? Now that this first week is out of the way, the excitement of it is over with after the first week, what are you looking forward to down the stretch of the rest of the season?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing what teams do well and, you know, which players are, like, scoring and how well the goalies are going to do, so, yeah.
Well, we've got a lot of fans here in attendance today. If people want to check out where University of St. Thomas is playing, when is your next game where people can go check it out?
I mean, we have a couple away games, but we play at Wisconsin next, so that'll be great.
So if anyone wants to take a trip to Wisconsin, there you go. Thank you so much, Ella Berger, for joining us here today. Looking forward to more of what your team can do this year and more from the PWHL after this. Back here in downtown St. Paul, where PWHL Minnesota leads PWHL Toronto 1-0. Earlier in the season, Kendall Coyne-Schofield was named captain of Team Minnesota. Hear from some of her teammates why she was given the honors.
I would say the most competitive player is probably Kendall Coyne.
Obviously, Kendall is really significant. She's, I believe, been one of the faces of women's hockey in the last decade. She was really dynamic, and her speed does multiple things on the ice. It creates turnovers. People are afraid of it. They're naturally going to retreat. And she's just a dynamic player.
She brings an intensity to everything she does.
what better person to have lead our organization, because she's a phenomenal leader, and you will get an indication of that the minute she opens her mouth and starts talking.
Whether she is on the bench or playing, she is just locked in and figuring out whatever we need to do to win.
She's very action-oriented, so you're going to see that firsthand by how she treats her teammates and how she conducts herself. When we're looking to build an organization and have strong leadership, obviously Kendall's somebody who came to mind right away, not only for her leadership, but then add in the hockey component, and it was just a slam dunk. And as she's gone through her career, her hockey IQ has just gone off the charts. And so I believe she's a future Hall of Fame player.
At Northeastern, then went on to be a 3-time Olympian, and her international career isn't done yet. I was talking with Dave Flint about Kendall Coyne. It was her that he points to who started that dynasty that has been so dominant in Hockey East in recent years. He points to her. When she said, yes, I'm coming to Northeastern, that's when the Huskies program became what it has become.
Absolutely, and when you say the name Kendall Coyne Schofield, everybody knows who that is. Her face is immediately in your head when you say her name. This is somebody who's been a part of the hockey world for so long. The accolades speak for themselves, and it just seems like such an obvious answer on top of her leadership abilities. You take a look at some of those accolades. Won an Isabel Cup with Minnesota back in the day in 2019. You mentioned her Olympic medals, and this is just somebody who has done such a tremendous job everywhere she's gone. Every corner of the hockey world she's touched, she has made an impact, and Minnesota is looking for that to be the case again here in this new PWHL, hoping that she can lead the way for this team.
Dave Flint, by the way, in case you don't know, the longtime head coach out in Boston for Northeastern. The 3 pre-draft signees, Kendall Coyne Schofield, Kelly Panic, and Lee Steckline, they're the foundation. As we take a look at the first period stats brought to you by Sport Check. And again, Minnesota, I don't know that there's a period this year that they haven't been outshot. I'm trying to think. I don't think so. But hey, they're undefeated, and they've got the lead again here tonight.
Well, being opportunistic is such a big part of sports, and if you're a team who can capitalize when chances are presented to you, you're going to win a lot of hockey games, and Minnesota has done that so far through 2 games. And you take a look at some of what happened in this first period. We talked about it, Clay. Toronto had a lot of great opportunities. They spent a lot of time in the offensive zone, but Minnesota, the 2 biggest keys, a great penalty kill, and they got in the way of a lot of shots. The block shots stacked up in that first period for Minnesota, which made it tough for Toronto to get some good looks on net. And then later in the period, Minnesota would pick up a goal of their own. Just a great play to poke it off the stick there, carry it up the ice, and Taylor Heisey does it all by herself, splits the defenders right at the last minute, and sneaks it past Kristen Campbell for the first goal of the night.
I think that's going to make Ken Klee very happy. Could have hit Coyne trailing on the play, but you know, the way this line, I think, has been playing the last couple of days, that's been the most effective move right there, just charging the net.
Well, and sometimes the selfish choice is the right choice. I know a lot of times players want to be selfless. They want to give up the puck, try to get it to their teammate, or look for the perfect play. But sometimes the better play is just take it in by yourself, and Taylor Heisey showing exactly why that's the case, driving the net there. And when you've got the skill like Heisey has, you want to see those players drive the net because you know they're going to give you a good chance at scoring. Heisey does just that, gives Minnesota the 1-0 lead. I'm excited to see now how Minnesota comes out in the second period now with the lead. See if they can get some momentum going in their favor, maybe draw a penalty or 2 and continue this trend here.
Moments away from the start of the second period, we remind you nothing beats watching your favorite team live. Get tickets to PWHL games. Catch all of the action. Visit thepwhl.com/tickets to secure your seats today. There were 13,316 fans here on Saturday, a world record for women's professional hockey. A very good Wednesday night crowd here in St. Paul at the X tonight. And they've been treated to a pretty good game so far. 1-0 Minnesota as we get ready for puck drop here in period number 2. And again, the top line for Minnesota of Heisey, flanked by Brzova and Coyne Schofield out there to start the period. Top defensive pair, Steckline and Flaherty for Minnesota. Turnbull centering Nurse and Comfer. That's the top line for Toronto. Also out there to start the period, and LaRocque and Fast on the blue line. LaRocque shot go past Hersta. Minnesota's got it. This is Kruzova. Pushed to the outside by Jocelyn LaRocque. A couple of national titles at Minnesota Duluth. A couple of gold medals. I mean, that was a great draft choice, too, by Toronto. He's a native of St. Anne, Manitoba. Taken in that September draft right behind Heisey. And here is Taylor Heisey. Dropped it back, nobody trailing on the play, so turned over to Toronto, and here's LaRocque again.
Well, somebody was trailing. She was heading to the bench, and Heisey didn't realize it, left the puck home for nobody.
Centered right out in front, trying to settle it down. Malte right in the blue paint. And Minnesota's able to get it away from danger.
And Hensley, just a great recovery. She was out for the count, so what does she do? She sprawls out as much as she can to fill up that lower half of the net and makes the save.
Malte setting up a player out in front, and it was Spooner who had the franchise's first goal the other day. Almost had one there to knot us up at 1. Man, Malte has been fantastic here tonight.
Got the big goal the other night to give Toronto their first win of the season, and another great look there.
Channel's going to float it in for Minnesota and get off the ice. Minute and a half into the second period, 1-0 Minnesota, trying to stay unbeaten. 2-0 in franchise history. Long drive, and Campbell able to glove it.
Minnesota looking for the tip out front there, but Campbell gets her glove on it, not allowing any opportunity in front of the net. And moments ago, it was Toronto who got a good look on net. Great centering feed in the crease there. Hensley was there and is able to keep it out of the back of the net. But what a great heads-up play by Malte. Gets it past the outstretched skates of the sprawling defender for the good look out front.
Heavy Karam off the end boards. Nobody there for Minnesota to put a shot on net. Now Toronto comes back with Howard. She'll feather a pass to Miller right to the middle, and it's poked away from her. Emma Malte had a great career at Ohio State, helped the Buckeyes get their program's first national championship. That's the kind of player you can build a franchise around. That's why she was taken 11th overall. Now to the point, this is Fleming for Minnesota, still holding. Hands off for Cunnin. Cunnin. Now back for Fleming. Fleming feeds the right point. Flaherty, wrist shot, wide of the left post. And taken away by Rebecca Leslie. The former BU captain will clear it down, and that will be an icing call. Let's go back to Taylor Heisey. 2 goals, no assists, 2 points on the year. Has made some history. Of course, we talked about this on Saturday. Proud home city of Lake City. They are so proud of her. And we kind of talked about, you know, that was a basketball town before Taylor Heisey came around.
Well, it's just so cool to see how many Minnesotans are making a splash in this new league. Of course, this is not called the state of hockey for nothing, but to really see these players showing out in this league has been so fun to watch over this week. And I just know it's going to continue to trend that way throughout the rest of the season.
She was quickly, after the game on Saturday, up on the second level here at the XL Energy Center, outside of the elevators, signing autographs. And she signed until everyone was signed. No fan who wanted a Taylor Heisey autograph was left without one. She played her high school hockey in Red Wing, but Lake City's getting a lot of pub because of her now. This is going to go in behind Hensley. Off to the far wing. Coyne has it under her skates. Comes to the blue line. Toronto's got it. Here's LaRocque moving in from the circle. Centers back. Here's a drive. Knocked down. And then it gets in on Hensley and gives up no rebound.
First shot never got through. A great job by Toronto to stick with it. Even better job by Hensley to see the second shot come through. Sometimes it's tough for a goaltender to read the second opportunity when the first one never makes its way to the net. You take another look at this opportunity here. Great feed all alone in the high slot. Rips a shot. Minnesota gets another block shot added to their stats for the night, but the second shot does come through, and Hensley was ready for it.
Yeah, Blair Turnbull was turned aside there. The 30-year-old veteran, longtime member of Team Canada. There's Toronto, can't get the equalizer. Now a chance, and they score! Right out in front, wrist shot goes in. And that is Sarah Nurse tying this one up at 1.
The release on that shot was incredible. By the time I realized she had the puck on her stick, it was already in the back of the net. Take another look at this play in the corner. Minnesota can't get it out. They've got it on their stick in the corner. Toronto forces the turnover all alone in the slot. She wastes no time putting that puck in the back of the net. And Toronto has tied this game now at 1 apiece.
She was one of those pre-draft free agents we were talking about. She gets her first tally of the year. Comes at the 3:43 mark of the second. And now the game has a different feel.
Absolutely, and that's a player for Toronto who you want to see that player step up. And Nurse, 7 goals in the PWHPA last season, tied a career best in that league. Averaged almost a point a game in college, and now ties the game here. And a huge goal for Toronto. Minnesota was trying to turn that momentum in their favor with that late first period goal, but Toronto has the answer here early in the second.
Sarah Nurse, a native of Hamilton, Ontario, talked about how popular she is in the country of Canada. And that's her first PWHL goal. And now going in, another chance right out in front there. Turnbull again denied by Hensley.
Hensley standing tall there after hacking away at the rebound. She doesn't let a second one pass her here.
Kurzova feeds it across. Coyne, long drive. And a blocker saved by Kristen Campbell. Now here comes Toronto back again. Nurse, a long shot. Steered away by Hensley. Sarah Nurse, 29 years old. The assist going to Allie Monroe.
It'll be interesting to see what Minnesota does here now, trailing for the first time on home ice. See what kind of response they have here against Toronto. I beg your pardon, tied for the first time on home ice. See what kind of response they have here.
Now, Toronto got down early in both of their games with New York, came back to win the second one, got down early tonight. But early here in the second period, they've knotted it up as Fast goes back to get it. Here's Connors now on the near wing side. Maggie Connors, youngest player taken in the draft, turned over. Oh, stoning! Minnesota's Kristen Campbell with that right pad kicked it out of there at the last moment to deny Cunningham.
I don't know how Campbell was able to follow that the whole way through. She was dancing and dangling all the way through the crease area, and Campbell stuck with it, kept her right pad stuck to the post, and denied Minnesota the go-ahead goal.
Cunningham nearly had her second goal of the year. Almost put Minnesota back in front. Now Flaherty from behind the Minnesota net. Starts it out on the right wing for Claire Budarak, former Minnesota State captain. Here's Steckline, who we talked to at intermission. Bouncing puck. Willoughby moves it along for Toronto. Miller tried to get it off for Flanagan, and now almost a breakaway for Minnesota, but it fails to materialize.
Pass was just a touch too far out of her reach there.
Now Howard. Flanagan backhand right out in front, and Hensley makes no mistake with 13:40 to go here in the second, tied at 1.
Well, Hensley making a big save there, but moments before, Nurse gets the tying goal.
The PWHL is brought to you by Bread Financial, official inaugural partner of the PWHL. 6 teams, 157 players, 12 countries, 53 Americans, 90 Canadians, and 14 from outside North America. It's great to see a professional league, Alexis, finally where the best in the world can come together and compete on a great night like this in St. Paul.
Well, and I think this first week in the league showed that, seeing who stood out, how the different star players have started to develop through just 1 week of play. It's going to be so much fun to see how this season unfolds here in the first year of the PWHL.
And 2 of the best young players for either of these franchises have the goals tonight. Taylor Heisey for Minnesota, Sarah Nurse for Toronto. Here's a drive from Flaherty right on, and Campbell saw it the whole way.
Minnesota not wasting any time getting that shot in on net. I'm really curious to see how Minnesota's going to respond. I talked about it a moment ago, but first time tied here on home ice. Minnesota saw 2 different tails of the tape, and their game against Boston was a bit of a tighter one, kind of a tight finish. Against Montreal, they kind of had it tied up late, and now in a close one here in the second period. We'll see what kind of game plan Minnesota comes out with on home ice, see if they can get that lead back.
And Campbell can be a tough goaltender to figure out. I mean, we have seen her stand on her head at times during her career. At 2019 Frozen Four, when she was in net for Wisconsin. Throughout the entire Frozen Four, didn't allow a goal. And led the Badgers to a national championship. When she gets hot, I mean, she can completely put an offense in the freezer.
Yeah, she faced 31 shots in the last game against New York, was named the #1 star of the game in that matchup.
Wrist shot kicked away by Hensley. That was a shot from Renata Fast at the point. Fast has had many, many long drives that have found their way toward the net. Many have not got on because of blocks.
And based on the way Hensley reacted to that, I don't think she saw it until the last second, but she was in the exact right position to make the save and kicked it out to keep it out of the back of the net.
Abby Cook on the ice now for Minnesota. She'll shovel it in deep. Zumwinkle tried to advance it. She's knocked off the puck. Now Fast tries to chase it down for Toronto. Played to the Toronto line. It's going to get in the zone. LaRocque will whip it around to the near wing side and back out to center. Under 12 minutes to go, second period, closing in on the midway point of this game, and we're tied at 1. Second home game for the Minnesota franchise, trying to stay unbeaten as Campbell will hold on to get the whistle. And, you know, it was fun listening to all the commentators, reading the newspaper clips this week about this Minnesota franchise and just the PWHL league in general. So much good publicity here in the last several days.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my feed on social media was filled with PWHL content all throughout the weekend. It was so cool to see, and I'm hoping fans bring that energy all season long. Fun to see how many fans are in attendance here again tonight at the XL Energy Center. A chilly Wednesday night here in downtown St. Paul.
Turnover, guess who? Zumwinkle going right in, and Campbell stands her ground.
Looking for goal number 5 on the season. Denied there on that sequence.
Zumwinkle leading everybody with 4 goals on the year. Almost lit the lamp again. Boy, Campbell is really settling in. You can see her confidence building in every stop she makes as this one comes back to the Minnesota blue line. Now a battle for it against the wall here. Willoughby gets it for Toronto.
And Campbell probably sitting a little bit more comfortably in between the pipes after Toronto got that tying goal. Always makes the goaltender feel better to see the team in front of you producing. Now with the 1-1 game, Campbell a little injection of energy.
Campbell, the second goalie taken in the draft, 14th overall. She's going to be tested again, and this time by Cunnin. But Campbell is able to flick it away.
Great work by Minnesota to get in all alone. Cunnin's had a couple good looks in this game here. Seems like she's knocking on the door of a goal in tonight's matchup.
Now Howard doing some good stick work. Drops it off, and this one's ramped up off a stick and into the mesh.
2 good looks as of late by PWHL Minnesota. Great work at the blue line to keep this puck in play. And a good shot there taken by Zumwinkle. The reverse angle here. Kind of just ran out of room to make the play she wanted, but still got the shot in on net. And then moments ago, Cunnin flicks in a wrister there, and Campbell makes the save again. Cunning's had 2 good looks so far tonight. Not yet able to find the back of the net, but she's had some good ones.
Cunning almost scoring on her former Badger teammate. Teammates for that 2019 title. Under head coach Mark Johnson. As this one's going to bounce in deep into the Toronto end. Boy, what a job Mark Johnson has done with that Wisconsin program. 7 national titles in Madison. And now Blair Turnbull will send it around. Chip back. Flanagan races for it. Bryant gets there first for Minnesota. Bryant sends it back. Now to the blue line. Here's Bryant again, tried to feed it back. Greco lost her edge. And getting back there is Abby Cook for Minnesota.
Minnesota was trying to force that play high in the zone. They should have taken it down back behind the net instead. They tried to force it at the blue line. Toronto able to get the puck out of the zone and force Minnesota to kind of start over there.
Well, this is the second of 12 home games for Minnesota between now and May. 24-game schedule for all of the franchises in the PWHL. The league is going to take a break for the World Championships in early April. And then the first playoffs will start in May. It's all building up to a fun spring in professional women's hockey. And right now, Minnesota looks like the team to beat. In fact, nobody's beat them yet. Cunning wrapped up and lost the puck. Rougeau gets it back for Toronto. Toronto can't break out. There's the long reach of Steckline, keeping it in for Minnesota. And now here's Kruzova. Denisa Kruzova, 29 years old, also played her college hockey at Northeastern. And now top, no, this is Heisey again. She scores! Taylor Heisey. Second of the game, and Minnesota's back in front.
That was nasty. In a phone booth, Taylor Heisey makes it 2-1. Clay, we're already on hat trick watch again. We had one in the first game here at the XL Energy Center. Wow. I mean, come on. Is she kidding me with that right now? And Taylor Heisey putting on a shooting clinic here for Team Minnesota. Puts her team back in the lead. Wow, some goals just leave you speechless, Clay, and that's one of them. She's going to have a whole highlight reel just from today's game alone with the way she's playing.
Third goal of the season. It comes at the 11-11 mark of the period. And we were talking with General Manager Natalie Darwitz about her on the air on Saturday. There was no doubt in her mind who her first pick was going to be.
And she's proving exactly why she deserved those honors, deserved to be picked first, and helping Team Minnesota here to get their lead back.
You give Liz Sheppers the only assist on that goal by Heisey. Their long drive, side of the net. Zumwinkle tried to turn it on. And Toronto takes it back. Here comes Spooner through center. She'll pull up on the far wing, looking for help. Tried to feed Connors. It bounces in behind the cage. And now Minnesota takes over. As Channel gets it back with exactly 8 minutes to go in the second period. Past the 12-minute mark, and Minnesota's gone back in front 2-1.
Minnesota's had a couple looks in all alone on Campbell in this period. Toronto's let Minnesota sneak behind them a few times. Whatever game plan Minnesota has drawn up here is starting to work in this second period. I really like what they've done to force some offensive opportunities.
This is kind of what we saw happen on Saturday to a certain extent. And again, the defense, especially at center ice, has tightened up for Minnesota. It's really getting harder for Toronto to find movement up the middle. Here's Willoughby now for Toronto. She's bottled up. Fast will send it around for Larocque. And now the veteran will bang it off the boards. Fast gets it to the line. Loose there. And now Minnesota takes back over with 7 minutes to go in the second. Fast is trailed there by Budarak. Now a race for the puck. Kogan couldn't get there. It's paddled away by Hensley. He's playing with a 1-goal lead. Turned out in front of her and right on. Hensley saw it off the stick of Leslie, and we get a stoppage with 6:40 to go.
Taylor Heisey giving Minnesota their lead back, makes it 2-1 Minnesota. Standing by now with Coach Klee and Coach Taylor Heisey putting on a clinic here tonight. What have you liked out of her game?
Yeah, I mean, I really like what she's doing away from the puck, to be honest with you. It's, you know, her reloading, getting back on top, that allows her to have offense. Like, she makes a great play on the first goal in our own zone. Patience, they back, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, she's going. Same thing on the second goal. I mean, she reloads. She's in a good spot. We turn it back. We're trying to play north, and all of a sudden, one bounce, and she's off and going. So I'm really, really happy with the way she is away from the puck.
Thanks so much, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
You bet.
2-1 Minnesota, 6:40 to go, second period. Ken Klee, hired a couple of weeks ago after the resignation of Charlie Berggraf, who stepped away for personal reasons. I didn't know this. I read it in the paper. He was supposed to be in Costa Rica right now with his family. He had no plans on coaching in the PWHL, but then Natalie Darwitz called him up and said, hey, Coach, I need you to come to St. Paul. He loaded his truck, and here he is, and he's having a blast.
I mean, I've heard January in Minnesota is lovely.
Krasova with a wicked wrist shot, and Campbell got a piece of it to send it up off the glass, and now that one ends up in the protective mesh to stop the clock with 6:04 to go in the period. Canadian Tire, proud founding partner of the PWHL. Canadian Tire, Canada's store. Here to make life in Canada better. Alongside Alexis Pearson, I'm Clay Matvick. Well past the midway point of this game, 2-1 Minnesota. Right out in front, there was a drive, and Campbell is able to see again. That was Toppany, the Finnish Olympian. Such a great international star, a point-blank shot, looking for her first goal of the year.
And that's why face-off wins are so important. Minnesota wins that offensive face-off draw, draws up a play, gets a shot in on net quickly, forcing Campbell to make a save there on that sequence.
Susanna Toppany with that last chance moments ago.
Another look at it here. Panic on the face-off. Minnesota fights for the puck and just puts the shot right in on net. Those are tough for goaltenders to read because typically a play takes a little longer to develop off the face-off. But there, Minnesota makes it happen quickly, getting the shot in on Campbell. Campbell's played great here tonight despite her team trailing by a goal here in the second period. But Minnesota's Taylor Heisey has just been tremendous here tonight for this top line, putting 2 pucks into the back of the net behind Campbell.
Campbell was the #1 star in the franchise's first win against New York. Had 29 saves in that 3-2 victory. She's going to have to continue to be good as Minnesota's finding more offensive momentum. You can see they're keeping Toronto bottled up here on the forecheck. Thrown out in the slot. Nobody there for Minnesota. Toronto trying to clear it, and they finally do. It's Comfort leading the way. drops it back. Turnbull driving toward the net. That's what she does. Turnbull a power forward, and it drifts in on Hensley. Now they're getting grouchy out in front of the net.
Well, moments ago, back on this side of the ice, there was a little pushing and shoving that kind of drew the attention of the crowd. It ups the ante here on this sequence, and Toronto may be a little frustrated that they're down a goal here on the road. Minnesota up 2-1.
Couple of roughing minors just moments ago. It's Taylor Heisey and Sarah Nurse, coincidentally the two players who've done all the scoring, but they're going to be off the ice for the next couple of minutes here for the roughing penalty out in front of Hensley.
Well, here's the play that got everybody's emotions fired up here, and you can see Heisey pushing there. Nurse is in there on the edge of your screen, and this is the second scrum like this that's developed in the last couple of minutes. This one, though, a little more intense, drew the attention of the officials to send a couple players to the box. Two of the best players on the ice now are going to sit for a couple minutes in the penalty box.
So we go 4-on-4 here. Who do you think this is advantageous to? Who has more speed on their roster?
I think this is advantageous to Minnesota. Although if you are Toronto, who's had trouble getting shots through to the net, like they have so far because Minnesota's blocked so many shots, you now have a little bit more space to work with. But speed factor definitely in favor of Minnesota, I'd say.
All right, under 5 minutes to go in the period, 1:40 to go in these matching penalties. Shallow angle shot there, Larocque, that glances off to the far side. Now here's Larocque again. Emma Malte, what a shorthanded goal in their last game. Has it on her backhand, takes it to the point. Now she'll regroup back out at center. Gives it off for Renata Fast. Fast tried to get it to Spooner. Spooner overskated it. Now regroups and steps in. Spooner bangs it off the end boards. Coming up on a minute to go in the matching minors. Loose puck in the corner. And it'll be Kelly Panic to get control for Minnesota, and they get it out of the zone. Well, right now it's Toronto, carrying the play here on this 4-on-4. There's Miller with a long drive, didn't get to the target.
And they're taking their time as well. They're being methodical with what they want to do, but here comes Minnesota the other way.
And it's Toppany. She'll send it on, and Campbell will make no mistake.
Toppany, a great release there on that shot, trying to get one in past Campbell to extend this Minnesota lead. Toppany, a couple Olympic medals on her resume. Played her college hockey at the University of North Dakota. Still looking for her first goal of the season. Does have a couple assists, though, to start the year here for Team Minnesota.
Off the draw, controlled by Minnesota. Bookbinder sends a hard wrister right into the belly of Campbell, and she'll muffle that shot.
I really like how Minnesota is trying to get these quick looks off the face-off. I don't mind find when a team takes their time to get a play set up, sometimes that is the better option, Clay. But these quick looks off the faceoff can be tough for a goaltender to read. There she got a really clean look at it. There was nobody in the shooting lane. But I like what Minnesota's been doing as of late with these opportunities.
And right now, Minnesota holding on to a 1-goal lead. As we'll get another whistle and another penalty, and somebody's going to have a player advantage here for 22 seconds.
Minnesota will get the extra skater on the ice as Toronto heading to the box for the hooking call. Comper's going to take a seat next to Nurse there.
Minor penalty.
So it'll be 4-on-3 for 23 seconds. And then 5-on-4. Here's another look at it. Channel. Great work moving her skates, and that's what happens. When you're moving your feet, you're going to be more likely to draw penalties, and Channel makes it tough there, forcing Comper to get the stick in on the arms.
First power play for Minnesota. And like I said, they're looking for another franchise first. They've not had a power play goal yet this season.
The bad news for Minnesota is Toronto is perfect on the penalty kill so far, so unevenly matched here as far as this special team opportunity goes.
For 10 seconds, a player advantage, 4-on-3 for Minnesota. Coming in, sent to the middle. Panic overskated it a bit, now tied up out in front. Cunning will get there, but now they lose that advantage. As Nurse is back out, and so is Heisey. Now it's 5-on-4, pardon me. Here's Heisey, long drive. That hit a skate out in front, and now it's between the pads of Campbell. And we get a whistle with 2:41 to go and 1:18 to go in this power play for Minnesota.
Minnesota was looking for the backdoor tap in there, but it just kind of got tangled up in the skates. Heisey setting this play up from the circle, wires one, and the shot came in so hard that it went off the skate of Grace Zumwinkle, not able to collect that pass and find the back of the net, but she was in there with the wide open net facing her had she got that puck on her stick.
Power play, Minnesota. Drive, knocked down Campbell, steered to the far corner. Just over a minute to go in the advantage. Bookbinder races to the wall and gets there to keep it in the zone. Here's Bookbinder, high in the slot, wrist shot, blocked by Spooner. Kept alive by Topping. Bookbinder feeds it off for Heisey. Heisey for Bookbinder. 50 seconds to go in the power play for Minnesota. Now Coyne Schofield comes over, gets her tape on it. Back for Toppany, Bookbinder again. And now Heisey with some room, moves in, top of the circle, sent one on, but Rougeau is able to kick that away. Toronto trying to desperately get it out, can't. Now Heisey again, moving in. A great scramble there by the Toronto defender, Monroe, to knock it away. Now Toppany again, right out in front, Sheppers off the side of the cage. Wraparound attempt by Toppany with 10 seconds to go. Heisey, still dangerous. Bookbinder, drive, save, rebound, and it's kicked wide. And that's going to do it. Toronto back to full strength. What a kill for Toronto. They were down for well over 2 minutes and able to kill that long disadvantage. 1:10 to go in the period. Loose puck, side of the net. Oh, another save by Hensley as Nurse was lurking again.
Saves on both ends of the ice here by both Campbell and Hensley to make this still just a 2-1 game. Hard to believe that Minnesota power play doesn't have a goal yet after seeing how they worked that puck on the cycle. Campbell making a great save in the waning seconds of the power play.
Nurse beats Turnbull, backhand right on, and Hensley makes another stop. And now Hensley wants a breather here. She'll dive out, and now it's getting ugly again. Vasco got thrown to the ice by Flaherty. We'll see what happens here as far as potential penalties, if any. And we talked about it before. You know, Ken Klee has said it all week. These players are still adjusting to the physicality of this of this game here in the PWHL.
Well, we've seen the emotions rising here in this second period with just 37.9 to go. Hensley making the smart play there, diving on that bouncing puck to get the whistle. And then tensions flare back. Someone's throwing a blatant punch or yanking somebody down to the ice. I like just letting it go. Let them get the emotions out. Let them say what they need to say, and then get back to the face-off dot.
Toronto wins the draw with over a half minute to go in the period. Deflected out in front of Hensley. But Minnesota swoops in to take the puck away. Toronto holds the zone on the right point with Renata Fast. Fast looking to center it, and it's deflected up out of play with 20.2 to go in the period. Hey, the official online shop of the PWHL is now open. Gear up for the game day. Jerseys and apparel of your favorite team. Visit shopthepwhl.com to complete your game day fit. We talked about it on Saturday, Alexis. You know, a lot of people are talking about, hey, I wonder what the nickname of this franchise is going to be long term. People are excited about that. Don't worry, they're coming. The logos and the team nicknames are coming. Just going to make sure that they get it right. You know, this league happened so fast. 6 months ago, it didn't exist. So a lot of big decisions have been made in a short amount of time.
It has been incredible. The hours, the time, the effort that's been put in behind the scenes to get this league to the ice here this week. And I know we've said it a million times, but I'm going to keep saying it, how tremendous this first week has been. I cannot wait for the remainder of this season to pan out here as we hit our second intermission.
Well, a couple of goals in the period, Alexis. We saw Sarah Nurse get the equalizer for Toronto, but then Taylor Heisey with her second of the game coming at the 11-11 mark, and that's the score as we head to our second intermission.
Well, the star players are doing what they need to do here. Sarah Nurse tying the game, and then Heisey getting that lead back, and star players are expected to step up in tight games like this, and we've seen both teams have that happen here today. So Minnesota once again with the lead heading into another break here.
Well, the former Badger, Sarah Nurse, who has the tally for Toronto, will join us after the break. It's been another exciting night in downtown St. Paul. Minnesota trying to stay unbeaten in the PWHL, leading 2-1 going to the third.
Welcome back into downtown St. Paul, where PWHL Minnesota leads Team Toronto 2-1. I'm here now with Sarah Nurse, who had a goal so far in this one. You got the game tied up. You guys have had a lot of good looks here today. What have you liked out of your game, despite being down by 1 at this point?
I like the pressure. We're applying pressure on the forecheck in all areas of the ice, and I mean, our goalie back there, Soupy, has had a pretty stellar game so far, so we're looking to provide some offense to pay her back a little bit.
What's the one thing that you want to see change heading into this third period? You guys had a great game the other night in a tight one, pulling out the win thanks to that goal by Malte. What do you need to see happen here in this third period to have that same kind of finish to the game?
We have to find ways to get pucks through, get pucks to the net, and get more grade A scoring opportunities. I think we're playing a lot of perimeter hockey. We have a lot of possession, which is great in its own right, but I think we need to get dirty, get greasy, and take pucks to the net.
It seems like the tensions are starting to flare here. That second period started to get physical, some scrums after the whistle. How do you have to manage those emotions in the third to make sure that you come out on top with the win today?
I think we've been pretty good at it thus far this season, and these are the games we want to play. We want to be tough, we want to be physical. Getting under team skin, I think, is one of our team's strengths, and so that's the game we want to play, and we're going to continue to do it.
Appreciate your time, Sarah. Good luck in the third period.
Merci.
What a week it has been here in the PWHL. So much more to come this season. Let's hear from some of the players on Team Minnesota about what to expect in this league.
I'm hoping the girls in college and the girls in high school and anyone coming up and watching feels confident that this is going to be there. They know what it looks like, what support they're going to have. It reassures you, hopefully, that you have that option at the end of college.
Just looking back on when I was a little girl, you had the Olympic teams, and that's kind of really it. But to have a pro league where little girls can show up with their teams, with their family to our games and have something to look up to is really, really important, and it's something that hasn't really been available in the past.
For me, growing up playing high school at Wayzata, it would have been amazing to be able to come to some of these games and watch these professional girls play, because it shows that you have something to strive for even after college hockey. And just to see that and have role models in women's hockey, not just men's hockey, will be great for all of those players.
We always say that if you can't see it, you can't be it. So, you know, the more we can get out there in the community, the more games that are on TV or streamed online and things like that, like that's how kids see it. That's how they, you know, learn about it and learn what they can be when they grow up.
I mean, that's the goal, right? Is that by the time, you know, those middle schoolers, high schoolers graduate college, this is all full steam ahead. All the kinks are worked out. They're the ones that are really going to get the full benefit of having something that's fully established, where they can have a favorite team that they cheer for. They can watch their favorite player. The favorite player isn't someone that had to have played in an Olympics or a World Championship. It could be someone that they saw, you know, maybe it was at a local activation at their home rink, and they can follow them in their pro games.
I'm from Minnesota, so it's going to be awesome to be able to play in front of friends and family, but also it's the state of hockey, and it comes with a bunch of youth teams that we will be able to get in the stands and hopefully broadcast too back home. So I think that's the most exciting thing about this league, and finally just having all the talent in one league and having a little girl look up at the screen and be like, I want to play in that league one day.
Really cool to hear from some of the players on Team Minnesota. Don't worry, we'll hear from Team Toronto coming up shortly. Welcome back into downtown St. Paul. Minnesota leads Toronto 2-1. And speaking of Toronto, let's get to know their team a little bit better.
Oh, that's hard. I am like all over the map with my pregame songs. You know the movie Matilda? I love the song Send Me On My Way. I don't know why that song always comes on when I'm heading to the rink. So quite a random one, but that one always seems to pop up. My favorite childhood movie was She's the Man. That's a classic. Not too superstitious with anything. I just always tape my stick before a game. And then if there's a game of spike ball happening, I like to join in on that. But I like to just keep things easy and free-flowing and take things as they come. This is a sleeper pick, but I'm going to go with Jocelyn Larocque. I'm her D partner, and I've got to know her pretty well, and she usually chirps the refs, but I could see her sending some chirps to the players as well. I would go with Erica Howe. We're both from Clarkson, and I feel like I can just chat with Howie for days on end, so I'm good with Howie.
I had no idea what spike ball was.
I was just going to ask, have you done it?
Well, my kids got it for Christmas, so now I know.
I'm not nearly athletic enough to play spike ball.
I'm not either. She's Alexis on clay. We're back here, second intermission. It's a 2-1 hockey game, and your takeaways from the first two periods, and what do you expect here as we go into period 3?
I really like the way Minnesota has played in this game. They've definitely learned from some of their mistakes in Montreal, how they started that game. They played much better here today with the 2-1 lead. It's starting to get chippy. Minnesota has to be careful with that. Chippiness always benefits the team who's trailing in the game. If you can get the team in the lead out of their game, that's going to benefit Team Toronto. So Minnesota's got to be careful, ride those emotions well in this third period.
Let's take a look at the stats through the second period. Ream Canada bringing us our second period stats. Thank you to Ream Canada and Nurse and Heisey with her second goal, the goal scoring in the period.
Heisey now with 3 goals on the season, and she's really helped carry this Minnesota offense here today. Nice to see Sarah Nurse get her first goal of the season. That tied the game at 1, but Taylor Heisey, I mean, not only has she put Minnesota in the lead twice tonight, but the goals have just been absolute beauties, Clay. I mean, these are going to be on her highlight reel for the rest of her career. Here's a look at some of the chances. That was the Sarah Nurse goal that made it 1-1 earlier in the period. And Toronto's had plenty of good looks in this game, but just the 1 goal to show for. And Heisey here on this sequence, what a beauty of a shot, put Minnesota back in the lead. Just tremendous work by the top line of Minnesota here to kind of carry the way offensively for this team. And now skating with the 1-goal lead heading into the third period.
Said it before, Minnesota's the only team in, I guess we call them the original 6 of the PWHL, playing home games exclusively in an NHL arena. Man, did they show up on Saturday. Over 13,000 fans, a world record to watch women's professional hockey. Really solid crowd here tonight for the second home game of the year. You know, Toronto's home games, by the way, Alexis, they are sold out for the entire season. Now, the building that they're playing in, the old Maple Leaf Gardens, it's called the Mattamy Athletic Center now. Just a great venue. That place holds under 3,000, but man, does that look good on television. And the fans are right on top of the action, and you can't get a ticket for the rest of the year for PWHL Toronto.
Well, we've talked a lot about the state of hockey over the last couple games and how well these fans have shown out, how much they love hockey here in the state of Minnesota. But you talk about another place that loves their hockey, and that is Toronto. So super cool to see how much the fans have clung to this team in the early stages. Toronto 1-1 on the season, looking for their second win here tonight. They won in dramatic fashion the other night against New York. They're hoping for some of the same here in the third period, but it really feels like momentum is in Minnesota's favor right now. We'll see if they can hang on to that and get a victory here throughout the third period in Minnesota.
Just one other game in action tonight in the PWHL. And we've got a final. Montreal with a win 6-2 over New York on Long Island tonight. So Montreal gets its second win in franchise history. New York falls to 1-2, and with a win here tonight, should Minnesota hang on, they will be the only undefeated team in the league. They're going to get another 3 points, and that would be 9 points on the year. And we said it before, it's just a 24-game schedule. And to get out to this kind of start, I mean, who knows? Maybe they could go wire to wire because it's such a short season.
Well, it's incredible how just through 1 week, we've already seen some storylines emerge here. Minnesota already with the target on their back with a couple of wins to start the season. They've got a lot of speed. They've got great talent in between the pipes. It seems like they're doing all of the right things early on in this season. And like you said, Clay, you're not going to have a lot of time in the season to make up ground if you get too far behind. So Minnesota starting things off on the right foot here, looking for their third win of the season tonight.
Add the assist now to number 41, Denisa Crisola.
Off the draw, right up into the Minnesota bench where Ken Klee is working that toothpick again. He was chewing on a toothpick on Saturday, and this is obviously his thing. working a toothpick again here on this Wednesday night in St. Paul.
I don't even want to know what trying to get a splinter out of your gums would be like.
You and I are still trying to figure out who he reminds us of. I don't know if it's an actor or somebody. He reminds us of somebody.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the year we're going to
we'll
figure it out.
Get it, yeah. Tune into the last broadcast of the season. We'll have an answer for you.
2-1 Minnesota. Play out here in front of the Minnesota bench. Poked in by Toronto. And spit right back out by the team in purple. A lot of purple in attendance here tonight. We talked about the merchandise earlier in the game. And obviously that's starting to fly out the show. And it's going to drift back down. This is Malte getting to it for Toronto, but she hasn't taken off her stick. Shepard's there for Minnesota. Spooner took a whack at it, goes in behind the Minnesota net. Bookbinder plays it to the near corner, and here comes Minnesota out of their own zone. Looking to pick up some speed is Zumwinkle. Feeds it ahead at center. And Bookbinder couldn't get there as she was ridden off the play. Panic will whack it to the far wing side. Toppany keeps it alive. Off for Bookbinder, back for Toppany. Toppany below the end line. Centering pass one time right on. And kicked out of there by Campbell.
Great look by Minnesota trying to work out from back behind the net. Those are tough plays for the goaltender to read. Minnesota getting a quick look on that sequence, trying to add to their lead here. They've only led by as much as 1 goal on 2 separate occasions in this game. Would love to get a little bit of insurance with a second goal here to start the 3rd period.
Kelly Panic with a chance moments ago for Minnesota. Looking for her first goal in her PWHL career. And we're going to get this play whistled down offside with 18:11 to go in the hockey game.
Now Kelly Panic, a big name on this Minnesota roster with a good look moments ago. Trying to make it 3-1, winding up there from low in the circle. As I always say, Clay, no one's ever skating comfortably with a 1-goal lead. Nope. So Minnesota would love to add another one. Panic comes close, but Campbell, who's been tremendous all night, makes another save there.
Alexis, you talked to Kelly earlier in the game, the former Gopher All-American. That's the one nice thing about the way the PWHL has been set up, too. They've done a really good job keeping as many local stars near home where the fans recognize the names as possible. At center here, Howard comes in. Oh, what a shot! Right on! Beautifully timed. Leslie denied, though, as Hensley had her antenna up.
Great setup here by Toronto. Unfortunately, didn't get a whole lot on the tip, so Hensley was there to make the save, but great feed and right into the stomach there of Hensley, who keeps this a 1-goal game.
That pass by Howard, you could arguably say it's the best pass we've seen tonight.
Well, and Howard was tremendous last year in the PHF, trying to get an assist on that sequence, but Hensley making the save. Shots on net, pretty even here, Clay. It was looking a little scary early for Minnesota. Toronto was racking up some early shots. Of course, they did have a couple power plays that helped them out in that regard, but a 2-1 game here, Minnesota in the lead. Also, a 1-shot lead as far as that's concerned, 24-23.
Face off to the left of Hensley. Comes to the stick of Callie Flanagan. And now Minnesota breaks out. 17 and a half to play. Coyne threw it right through the slot. Nobody home for Minnesota. Kendall Coyne Schofield again tried to feed it back to a teammate. Nobody there. And now Willoughby will drag it back and dump it in for Toronto. Out of her net is Hensley. Got a little bit spun around, and that's always dangerous, but she was able to stay in control.
And of course, you see the trapezoid behind the net here because they're playing in an NHL rink, but no trapezoid rules apply in the Professional Women's Hockey League, so a little bit more movement for the goaltenders to work with.
And now Comfer ahead of everybody. Comfer, long drive right around Steckline. Steckline pushed her nicely enough to the outside, but now both players behind the net down, and one is Panic. Trying to see who it is for Team Toronto. That's Nurse, and you know, she's been down on the ice, and it's been physical around the net with Nurse involved a couple of times tonight.
Yeah, and Panic looked like she was okay once she went down. Nurse, though, seemed in a bit of discomfort and seems to be favoring that left arm a little bit as she skates off the ice. We'll take another look at this. Comfer sends this shot in, and Hensley sticks it back behind the net. And just kind of an unfortunate play. Panic and Nurse got tangled up, taking each other down. Kind of on accident there. Panic was down on her knees, and Nurse just was kind of on top of her, hit that end wall really hard, so hoping she's okay. She's got the only goal in the game for Toronto, and obviously a big piece of this Toronto team. And favoring that injury there on the bench, you can see, so we'll keep our eye on her, see if she re-enters the game at some point. Good news, though, that she didn't go to the locker room. That means she's probably feeling okay enough to get back in the game, so we'll keep an eye on that as this face-off will be taken outside the zone.
3:43, the time of that goal for Nurse back in the early stages of the second period. And you're right, Toronto can ill afford to lose her. She's such a star player. Here comes Toronto, back with Emma Malte, a star in her own right. Shot right back by Minnesota. Fast will bang it off the end boards. Here comes Toronto again. Malte tried to get it around Panic. Malte again. Malte weaving through center, will slide it in. Line change Toronto. Shooting back here is Allie Monroe out of Nova Scotia. And she's going to set up and survey, coming up on the 4-minute mark of the period.
And it seems through at least the early minutes here of this third period, whatever tempers were happening in that second period have not carried over so far. And I talked about it, at least for Minnesota, you want to keep those tempers low. You've got the lead, you want to play smart hockey here, continue to do what you've been doing well, and try to keep Toronto off the scoreboard.
Here's Rebecca Leslie trying to muscle her way around Channel. Channel gets it off her stick and throws it over to the far corner, but taken back by Toronto. Here's Howard, winds up, big drive. Karam's off a body out in front. I think they got a piece of Channel.
And Hensley had no idea where that puck was. She had a body right in front of her face there. Lucky that one didn't find its way into the back of the net.
Brittany Howard has been one of the better offensive players tonight for Toronto, the former Robert Morris Colonial. Now here's Kava at the blue line for Minnesota, and she's able to help work it out. Back to the Toronto end. Puck goes airborne, now back on the stick of Howard. Turnbull will be the one to dump it in deep. Hensley wanted an icing, didn't get it.
Fans are starting the Minnesota chant. Moments ago, they were doing the wave. Granted, they were doing the wave before the game even started, which anybody who knows me knows I'm a big fan of the wave, Clay. So I love the energy from the crowd here tonight. Speaking of the crowd, a look there at the Minnesota Golden Gophers women's hockey team. And Clay, we've mentioned it a lot to broadcast. There's a lot of former Gophers here in the PWHL. So cool to see potentially some future PWHL players in attendance here tonight.
I'm sure that's what they're thinking. Of course, Panic, we've talked a lot about her, former Gopher All-American. Taylor Heisey, the 2 goals, played at the University of Minnesota. As Hensley will make another stop there. Heisey, of course, the 2022 Patty Kaz winner. Just a couple of years ago, won the top award in college hockey. So some of those Gophers played with Taylor. As they went to the Frozen Four last year in Minnesota, Duluth country. It was Wisconsin that spoiled the Gophers' hopes at another national championship and came out of there with the title. At neutral ice. Cunnin racing for it for Minnesota. Beats Flanagan there. Flanagan trying to get control. Got it off for Turnbull. Turnbull lugs it to the line, not out. Turned over to Minnesota, and they'll hold it in deep with under 14:20 to go now in the period. Minnesota leading 2-1.
Didn't really have many options there. Half the team was changing, so they just dump it in deep to try to keep it in the offensive zone rather than pull it out and start over.
This puck is going to roll back deep into the Minnesota zone. Bookbinder will start it out on the right wing. Karam's over to Vasco's stick. She lost it. Now here's Kendall Coyne-Schofield, the captain, from her knees. Strong to get it in. Now on the stick of Heisey again. Heisey throws it on, looking for the hat trick. Wouldn't that be something? 2 in a row here in St. Paul.
Plenty of time left in this one, Clay.
Long drive. That got a pad from Kristen Campbell, and it comes to the near wing side. Now Coyne again. Look out. Trying to feed it back for Channel is Heisey, but it's intercepted. Minnesota able to keep it in the zone, though. And now finally Renata Fast will skate it back to center, and Toronto can come up for air. Fast will send it on. Hensley will leave it to a teammate with 13:10 to go.
passes in 1-on-4 there in the zone. Everybody behind her changing. Still got a great look in on Hensley, who continued to play the puck, keep this play moving.
Tipped by Tapani. Tried to feed it to Zumwinkle, who was cruising through the zone, but now Spooner coming back. Kick save. Hensley on that long drive. Chiseled ahead. Got it to the blue line, but electing to get a face-off here in the zone is Hensley, as Heisey continues to buzz, Alexis.
Well, there's a hat trick here on Saturday. Heisey trying to make it 2 hat tricks in 2 games for Minnesota.
PWHL is brought to you by Hyundai, official automotive partner of the PWHL. Clay Matvick, Alexis Pearson, and her entire crew here in the XL Energy Center downtown St. Paul. There's head coach Ken Klee of Minnesota. That purple tie tonight. Minnesota had a lot of firsts on Saturday. The team's first home win, first team to win at home in league history. League's first hat trick, and of course the team's first shutout in that 3-0 victory over Montreal. And now trying to remain undefeated. Trying to get those 3 points that go to the winner in regulation. And it's 2-1 with under 13 minutes to go. What's going to be the key down the stretch here for a Minnesota victory?
It's the easy answer, but smart hockey. If you play smart hockey with the lead, you're usually going to come out on top. We saw the emotions rise in that second period. So far, we haven't really seen that in the third. But if it gets to that point again, Minnesota has to make sure they're not taking any penalties that they don't have to. Playing smart hockey, and of course, I'm going to say the greatest cliche of them all, getting pucks in deep.
As for Troy Ryan, what is he telling his team? Because certainly a ton of time left in this hockey game. What does he need to see manifest?
I think they got to get a little creative. We've seen how good Hensley is now through almost 2 games here in the PWHL, and Toronto's had some great looks here tonight. They've got 28 shots on net over Minnesota's 25. They just got to get a little bit more creative with what they're doing, making Hensley work a little bit harder for some of those saves.
Well, this is good to see. You know, Sarah Nurse had her bell rung sliding into the end boards earlier with panic on top of her. And you know, she went to the bench, a little rattled, but obviously she's okay to continue.
Yeah, never went to the locker room, headed to the bench, sat there for a little bit, seemed to be favoring kind of the left side of her body. She went into the boards hard with panic. They just kind of collided, and Nurse took the worst of it. So great to see her back on the ice. She's got the only goal of the game here for Toronto so far.
She took the face-off against Sheppers. Sheppers won it. Sheppers has an assist tonight on the first Heisey goal. Sheppers with a couple of points on the year. Played to the point. Abby Cook kept it in deep for Minnesota. Now back out at center. Notice the defensive pair is now Cook and Bookbinder. Thrown out in front. Knowles is there for Toronto. And she failed on the clearing attempt, turned it over to Heisey. Heisey sent it wide. Oh, man. If you're going to turn it over, don't turn it over to her.
The last person on the ice Campbell wants to see facing one-on-one. Heisey, another good look there.
She's got it again from the circle. Thrown on, score! Kendall Coyne-Schofield. And the captain has her first goal in the PWHL.
This was a great feed by Taylor Heisey to find Kendall Coyne-Schofield. This top line has been paying dividends here tonight against Toronto. Heisey cuts through the slot, gets down to the faceoff dot, and just centers it down low. And Kendall Coyne-Schofield finds the back of the net. And this is what a good player does. You look at that replay there, everybody is watching Taylor Heisey. Why are they all watching Taylor Heisey? Because she has done some damage here tonight. Nobody was paying attention to Kendall Coyne-Schofield down low, left her all alone. She taps it in for her first goal of the season. And now with just over 11 minutes to go in the third, Minnesota's got that 2-goal lead that they've been looking for all period.
Minnesota goal, her first of the season. Scored by number 26, Kendall Coyne-Schofield. Assist number 27, Taylor Heisey. And number 23, Melissa Channel.
What a night for Heisey. 3 points on the night. As she assists Coyne on that goal. And obviously the first goal for Kendall. But think about where this league might not be if not for Kendall Coyne-Schofield.
I'll tell you what, I don't want to see a professional women's league without Kendall Coyne-Schofield on the ice. So super fun to see her be a part of this and to cash in here tonight on a huge goal for Minnesota nonetheless. Going to make this task a little bit harder for Toronto to come back.
Billie Jean King will tell you that it was Kendall's phone call to her several years ago, back in 2019, that really jump-started this whole process. And now, 5 years later, Kendall gets her first goal in this league that she was hoping would someday happen, and certainly it has, as Minnesota now has a 2-goal lead with under 10 to play in St. Paul.
And I saw some of Kendall's posts after the weekend just talking about how much this experience and this opportunity has meant to her. And I'm sure every player on the ice has got some kind of similar story about why this means so much to them. And it's been fun getting to learn more about some of these players and their path to the PWHL as we've gone along this week.
Cunnin will send it in behind the net. Sheppers is bumped off the puck by Monroe, and Toronto will clear it out. Under 9.5 to play. Still a lot of time on the clock. Toronto brings it in. That is Spooner. Off for LaRock. She'll set one on. Stopped by Hensley. And Fleming will get it out for Minnesota. Now the crowd maybe feeling a little more comfortable right now that Minnesota's got a 2-goal lead, but Toronto's dangerous. As I say that, they come in offside with 8:53 to go.
Well, they do say the 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead in hockey, so maybe Toronto looking for a chance to get back into this one down by 2.
Kendall Coyne-Schofield wearing the C, the first captain in Minnesota history, getting her first goal. Assist going to Heise and Krzyzova at 8:43 to give Minnesota a 2-goal cushion with under 9 to play.
The Illinois native, the only Illinois native on this Minnesota roster. 249 points in 133 games at Northeastern University. I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, what she did in that program, but so fun to see her path to the PWHL and cashing in tonight.
There's a blocker saved by Hensley. He's allowed 1 goal tonight. This is Sarah Nurse tally early in the second period. Minnesota has regained control. Heise again. Feed it out for Krzyzova. Krzyzova now the only Minnesota player on the top line this year without a goal. So it would seem fitting that maybe she's the next to score a goal here for Minnesota.
Well, when other players on the line are producing, it's only natural that whoever is missing that point or that goal is going to get it eventually because everyone else around them is scoring. So her time is coming. If Heise and Kendall Coyne-Schofield continue to produce as we've seen from them tonight, Krzyzova's coming next.
Oh boy, turned over right out in front, and Zumwinkle took a couple of chops at it. Couldn't get it past the goaltender Campbell, who has really been good despite being behind in this game. There's a drive. Willoughby. Well, her eyes lit up when the puck came to her. About 5 feet out. 7.5 to go. Wrist shot. Cunnin. Neutralized by Vasco. Number 10 for Toronto did a great job there against Cunnin.
I have loved Cunning's game here tonight. She has had some great looks. She loses her stick here, so she'll head to the bench for another one. But, man, has she had some great scoring chances for Minnesota tonight.
Sophia Cunnin, a 10th round pick for Natalie Darwitz. Now drop back. There's a drive. Connor sent it wide of the right post. Still a lot of time. Toronto needs the next one, though. Now Liz Sheppers will shovel it out. This is going to come all the way back down, and an icing call against Minnesota.
Here's another look at Minnesota's last opportunity. They lead by 2 here in the third period, but the turnover down low by Toronto. Minnesota gets it out front, whacks a shot in on net. Campbell makes the save, and Toronto clears out the trouble. And Clay, something I've loved about Minnesota's game now through 2 games here on home ice, and you could even throw that Boston game in there as well. They seem to get better as the night goes on. Whatever troubles they may have in the first period, whatever issues are plaguing them, they find a way to fix it. And then they just continue to get better as the night goes on. I've noticed that, especially here on home ice. And I love to see that because a team who can make adjustments on the fly like that is going to be better off for it. It's not always easy to make adjustments mid-game and change some of the things that aren't working, but Minnesota has found ways to do that here on home ice.
Yeah, you know, we've kind of mocked it a little bit how they're slow starters. Hey, it's working. Now Blair Turnbull swings it around to the near wing side. Nobody there for Toronto to keep it in the zone, and going back is Nurse. Fast, missed it, turned over to Coyne. Kendall Coyne-Schofield dumps it in behind for Krzyzova. And now we get a penalty coming up. And this is going to go against Toronto. So already in a world of hurt, the Toronto captain takes a penalty. This is not good for Toronto.
Number 40, minor penalty, roughing.
Roughing the call here with 6:14 on the clock. And Minnesota with an advantage here. You can see the push after the play, and the puck was well gone by that point. The official putting their hand in the air after that, sending Toronto to the box. And Minnesota could really put a dagger into Toronto here with a power play goal. Toronto just hanging around here, down 2 goals. If they give up a power play goal here, this game is going to feel a little bit more out of reach down the stretch.
Heise feeds the point. Here's Toppinen. Number 1 power play out there for Minnesota. Bookbinder sends it across. Coyne in the middle. Bookbinder now, the quarterback of this power play. Off for Heisey, and that's out of the reach of Bookbinder. They have to regroup at center. Now with some room, Heisey, just missed it. And now back the other way comes Toronto.
By the time this power play is over for Minnesota, there's only going to be about 4 minutes remaining, and at that point, Toronto's already going to start thinking about potentially pulling their goalie within the next minute or minute and a half after that. So time's going to start moving quickly here for Toronto.
We saw Corey Chevry, the head coach of Montreal, pull the goaltender for an extra attacker with like 3.5 minutes left in that game the other day. It didn't bear any fruit, but it was obviously the gamble she was willing to take at the time.
And you know, I don't mind that. At that point, what do you have to lose, right? Get the goaltender on the bench, see if you can get something going. So I don't hate that. We'll see what Toronto decides to do here, if they can kill off this power play for Minnesota, see what they can work with just a few minutes remaining.
Blair Turnbull in the box for Toronto for roughing. The Stellarton, Nova Scotia native, longtime member of Team Canada.
Toronto with the only shorthanded goal on the season as well to note, so maybe they're looking for another one here. Try to give themselves a little bit of extra time. Yeah, the first jailbreak goal in PWHL history. That's unofficially what we're calling it. I like that. That jailbreak rule where you score shorthanded, it frees the player serving a minor. And we've seen a little more aggression on the penalty kill because of it. Well, I think especially late in the game, that's a huge thing to be able to use to your advantage. If you can score a goal and get the player out of the box when you're down a couple, that could be a huge momentum shift. Well, it's an effective kill for Toronto, but they're running out of time. Just over 4 minutes to go. We're back to 5-on-5. And Minnesota very happy to keep this locked up in the corner. Finally comes loose. Turnbull fresh out of the box. Will speed through center. Turnbull on a mission. Wrist shot goes up over the shoulder of Hensley. Kogan was coming in down the left wing all alone. I don't know that they knew she was wide open. Would have had a great look on the back door had they gotten the puck to her. Rolls ahead at center. Fleming will feed it on. Cunningham got it in deep for Minnesota. 3.5 to go. At center ice, Fleming again steps in onside. Tried to get it to the middle for Cunningham, who was knifing in. Broken up by Toronto. Toronto has to play with urgency now. Running out of time, down a deuce. Minnesota will dump and chase. Player goes down, no whistle. It was Heisey. She kind of looked up at the official like, hey, where's the whistle? Didn't get it. It's going to be tough to get a penalty called at this point in the game. Just under 3 minutes to go. It's going to have to be pretty egregious. Maggie Flaherty. Head pass for Silva. Will guide it in. Baskets there first for Toronto. Gives it off for Larocque. Larocque tried to hand it off, but it's going to sail back down into the Minnesota end. And Campbell will have the next chance, probably head to the bench here. Minnesota, though, with possession for now. And it's Channel feeding the middle. Zumwinkle a drive. Kick save Campbell. Kristen Campbell, another save that she was able to dial in. Minnesota still getting scoring chances. 2:15 to go. And that puck came so hot off the pad that Minnesota overskated it. They were coming in so fast. So no second look, but a good opportunity by Minnesota. Just wasting time in the offensive zone so that Toronto can't get their goaltender pulled. We'll keep an eye here on Kristen Campbell. Well, she's creeping out to the hash marks, and she'll go to the bench now. Minute 52 to go. Here's that last Minnesota chance. Kristen Campbell didn't allow a rebound, Alexis. She's done everything she can tonight. Minnesota, the goals they've scored have just been great, great goals. And here's another look at that last chance. Zumwinkle fires one in, coming in off her hat trick in the game over the weekend. Had a good look there. Second opportunity, never found its way to the net. But Campbell. 33 shots in the opener at Boston. Did not play in Saturday's win here. Comes back in between the pipes tonight. She's been outstanding. And she's just so dialed in. You can see even when plays get kind of hectic in front of her, her head is following everything. Her body is following everything. She's never late to the play. And because of that, she's able to get something on the puck, whether it's a toe, a pad, a shoulder. She gets in front of just about everything. I really like the way she plays. She's faced 32 shots here tonight. She faced 35 in the game against Boston the other night, came out with the win in that one as well. So she's seen quite a lot of action in between the pipes, and she has been up to the task for this Minnesota team.
Yeah, of those 35 shots she saw in Beantown, 13 came in the third period.
Yeah.
And I don't know, about 6 or 7 in that final minute. It seemed like she was, you know, facing a barrage in that final minute or so. Empty net. That goes off the post. And we're going to have an offside call.
Well, you know what they say about a good goaltender is they should save everything they should and a couple that they shouldn't. And we've seen that out of both Hensley and Rooney in the games that they've been in and between the pipes. And they faced some really good looks from both Boston, Montreal, and Toronto. And they've done a great job for this Minnesota team, keeping them in it when they needed to and making some big saves late as well.
Empty net for Toronto, extra attacker on. Copper lugs it in with 90 seconds to go in the hockey game.
Minnesota did get an empty net goal the other night against Montreal. Zumwinkle scored it for the hat trick. Minnesota looking for another one here with the puck tied up back behind the net.
Zumwinkle tried to get to that one too, but she's locked up. Battle along the wall. It comes free for Steckline's stick. Steckline shovels it to the near wing side. Another drive. That's going to be an icing. Toppany was looking for the empty net. Don't forget, PWHL doubleheader this Saturday, January 13th, as Ottawa faces off against Toronto at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Boston faces off against Montreal, 3:30 Eastern time. And Minnesota will be back to work here on Sunday, first ever meeting with New York. Alex Carpenter entered the night second in the league in points, but it was a New York loss that we showed you that earlier. Got beat by Montreal 6-2.
And New York shut out this Toronto team in their first games of the season 4-0 earlier in the week. Minnesota will get a chance to see what they're all about later this weekend.
1 minute to play in this period. And again, it leaks just wide, and another icing call. Well, it's not for a lack of trying here. Minnesota very close to making this a 4-1 game.
Well, we saw the same thing the other night against Montreal. They had a couple looks at the empty net. I believe it was Panic who hit the post before Zumwinkle eventually found the back of the net for the empty net goal and the hat trick sealing goal. And here again tonight, Minnesota sending it down the ice, looking to finish this one off.
Larocque couldn't handle the pass. Toronto desperately needs to light the lamp quickly. Connors, backhand centering pass, nobody home. Zumwinkle tries to do it again and can't.
Well, at some point, by the law of averages, Minnesota's got to find the back of the net. They keep sending it down the ice. They've missed wide a few times here.
Would have been a terrific shot. I mean, she was at the bottom of the circle.
I think that would put her in the lead for empty net goals on the season as well.
I believe it would. 25 seconds to play. What a start to this season for Minnesota. Trying to get control. And they're going to get it out of the zone. And that's just about going to do it. Under 10 seconds to play here at the X. And the crowd very appreciative. Panic. Got it out. That's going to do it. Minnesota's 3-0. And Ken Cleve very happy he took the job.
Well, he has helped coach this team now to 3 victories on the season, the only undefeated team on the season. And Minnesota, they've got to have a target on their back now. I mean, we're starting to see what each of these teams are about, what each of these teams' tendencies are, what their styles are. And Minnesota plays a tough game. I talked about it earlier, but they just seem to get better as the night goes on. In every matchup they're in, they're able to quickly correct mistakes that they come out in the game with. And there you have it. 3-0 on the season. And I'd also say, you know, from what we've seen through week 1, Minnesota at least on ice, what we've seen, might have one of the best goaltending duos in the league.
No
which,
doubt.
if you can get that, you're going to be pretty set night after night.
They've got another one in Amanda Levier, who we haven't even seen yet. And she was a star at the University of Minnesota, so they have great goaltending depth. Tonight it was Hensley who gets the win, 3-1 the final. When we come back, we're going to hear from the #1 draft pick who had 2 goals tonight, Taylor Heising. Back at St. Paul in a moment.